Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be. Wow, this is going to be the last time I say that for a while. Well, we'll make this one special. It's Les Allen, as it has always been thus, taking you through the last of our presentation sessions on Peachtree Business Intelligence. This one we're going to be taking a look at the advanced report writing options that are available in the Report Manager. So we're going to be talking about things that you can do extra to the reports to make them more effective. We're talking automated distribution services. We're talking automatic emailing. We're talking automatically publish a report to HTML files so they can be saved to a reporting repository, maybe on SharePoint, something along those lines. So we're going to be talking about extra things that you can do to a report to increase functionality of the report. Plus, I want to take a quick chat. I want to have a quick chat about two of the reports that I've currently got in my Report Manager, which you will be getting access to around about release time. Okay. One of the reports that I talked about previously was a dashboard report. I understand that you may not have it in your builds right now, but you will be getting it, and I'm going to give you some more information at the end of the session about an additional financial report that's going to be made available as well, but I'll talk about that at the end of the session. Not going to spend a lot of time on the how to use the GoToWebinar interface. This is our 5th session together. If you haven't got it by now, you probably shouldn't be allowed out by yourself. You guys have all been able to use our questions facilities. If you do have any questions during the course of the presentation, please feel free to send it through. But lots that I would like to cover in this particular presentation, so let's get to it. Again, webinar recordings. Haven't received any feedback about problems with the webinar recordings recently, so I think everybody's getting them okay. community.alchemax.com/group/Alchemex webinars, and I'll also give you the Peachtree Business Intelligence group at the end of the presentation, and if you still want, if you don't have access to that, I'll give you the email address that you need to contact in order to get access to it. So, what are we going to be talking about? I mentioned a couple of these at the top. Add-ins. Now, these are an advanced property as far as the report is concerned. And while there are a number of add-ins, and each of the add-ins, a brief explanation will be given to you in the PDF documents that you'll be receiving for this course, there's a couple that you'll be using more than others. There's actually 3 that you'll be using. One of them is auto-emailing. The other is automatically saving to a web page. And I'll touch on the other one, which is an automated Excel formula extension. What that means is, please extend this particular formula as far down this sheet as raw data goes. So I'll be talking about that one as well. Scheduling reports. Now, you might get very excited about scheduling. Wow, we can schedule reports. During the course of this presentation, I'm basically going to give you the rundown of how to generate the scheduler command, and then I'm going to refer you back to the documents that were sent out to you. They were sent out at around about 30 minutes ago, so you should already receive them. And the reason that I can't go into too much detail is because the program that's being used is Windows Task Scheduler. And Windows Task Scheduler looks very different for XP as opposed to Windows Vista and Windows 7. Right? However, the PDF document that we've sent to you does give you an outline of exactly how to use both versions. So I'll show you how to get your command, and then I'll refer you back to your PDF documents, and they'll take you through exactly what you need to do in order to create a scheduled task. Then we'll take a look at some of the other advanced report writing properties available on the report. Protecting the Excel workbook. Excel often catches a bad rap, justified in the old days, often gets a bad rap that people can just come in and start changing stuff around. We'll show you how you can lock that down. How to automatically save a report to a specific folder. Then we'll take a look at making the reports available in the Peachtree menu. So this is something I'm going to be demonstrating. I haven't really touched on the menu interface that's available in Peachtree. I'll show you how you can do that. And then closing the book on completion. So while I'm not going to cover everything, and there is an explanation of every advanced option in your PDF documents, I'm going to show you the ones that you'll be using most readily. All right. So let's get to it. Talking about add-ins. So I want to have a look at my report manager. Going to select, actually I've got a training reports folder. I've got a bunch of demonstration type reports that I've used previously. Now, running the add-ins, you need to be able to see the advanced options for a report. Mark, I just saw your note. I'll make sure that you get all of the documents, not a problem. You need to be able to make sure that you can see the advanced options as far as the report options are concerned. Bottom of your properties window, there's a tick box. The moment you put a tick in, you have access to all of the advanced options for this particular report. Now, we're going to go through a lot of this area during the course of this presentation, but what I'd like to draw your attention to, 3/4 of the way down, you'll see a box with Run Add-ins. You'll see 3 boxes: Run Macros on Completion, Run Add-ins, then Generate Output File. Okay, I'll be talking about those during the course of the presentation, but the center one, Run Add-ins, all the way over to the right-hand side. Okay, and again, you'll be able to check this out on the video. So let me just make sure. Yep, it is recording. That's great, because I think you'd all be very upset with me. Over on the right-hand side, click that Browse button. Now, the first time that you run an add-in, okay, the first time you run an add-in, you'll get this window. The second time you run an add-in, you'll get something different, and I'll show you those differentiations in just a few moments' time once I've completed my first add-in. So choose an add-in function. From that first drop-down box, your only option there that you need to choose for as far as the add-ins are concerned, Alchemex Add-in 1. Select that. Then from the Select Add-in Library module, I'm going to give a couple of seconds for screens to update so we can take a look at that. And again, all of these groups, all of these modules are broken down in your PDF document with an explanation of what each of them does. What I'm going to look at is emailing functions, which is the last option there as far as Select Add-in Library module is concerned. Jennifer saw that message. Thank you very much for the hi. Select add-in functions. Now, in this particular module, there is only one, much like Highlander. Sorry, that was terrible. Select add-in function, mail SMTP. I select that, and I click OK. When I click OK, I'm then going to have the properties window for the email add-in come up, and I'm going to take you through each of the steps. So let me maximize this, so you'll be able to see it on your screen nicely. The very first field that's available to you is the SMTP server. Now, if you are going to write a report for a customer, when you can write all of this information in and save it as part of the report, then export it to them. When they import, all of these settings then stay. Just be warned that if you try to run their report on your machine to test it in the future, you won't have the same SMTP settings. Okay, so just beware of that. But there's no definite need for you to go on site to customize this add-in. You can type the add-in into the report, export the report, and send it to the customer. All right. SMTP server. Well, that could be mail.smtp.alchemex.com. You're going to have to get the SMTP details from that particular customer and put them in. Now, one thing you will note, I've clicked in this box, and you'll see that the box for the SMTP server has actually gone triple-sized. It's actually covering the next field that I need to play with. So you can press Tab to move to the next field. And when I press Tab, you'll actually see To Address has now expanded, and it's covering the From Address field, etc., etc. Okay, so don't worry about the fact that when you've clicked into a box it expands. You can press Tab to get to the very next field. So who am I sending it to? Well, I'm going to send this to Cheryl. Important point. The email addresses that you send to must be inside the organization. So emailing externally to addresses from the SMTP server, okay, won't work. You can look at recording a macro that kicks those addresses out, and I'll talk about running macros automatically later. But if it's inside of the company with a local address, absolutely, you can send it to multiple addresses actually. You can send it to Cheryl, I can send it to my boss, Gary, to other members of the sales team, etc. So you can send it to multiple addresses. The from address, well, I don't think I need to explain that one either, really. Good point, though. If somebody is going to be responsible for the automatic distribution of reports via email, what they can do is make sure their name is in the to box. If they receive the email, they know that other people, there should be no reason why other people didn't get the email either. So you can, in the very next field, which is the mail subject, you can put in a subject like automated report. And in Outlook, just set up a rule to say, if I receive an email with automated report, it must go to that folder. So if somebody's in that particular process and they're responsible for the reports, then absolutely they should put themselves in so they can check the reports did work. Tammy sent through, hiya Tammy, do you use a comma for semicolon to separate multiple email addresses? No, nor do you don't use a semicolon, you don't use a comma. The reason being, when I complete this particular add-in, you'll see the syntaxing of the add-in that each parameter is broken up by a comma. Okay. Multiple add-ins are separated by semicolons. So in this instance, yes, unlike normal Outlook, if I wanted to send this to other people in my organization, such as myself, it's a full colon, 2 dots. Okay. Sorry, Tammy, I didn't clarify that when I was talking about sending it to multiple people. My apologies for that. So yes, you can do multiple people, but the breakdown between these two is a colon. Now, you can review this video. However, we also have a video just on the automated email process, and all of the syntax is available on our BI community website. The groups/Alchemex webinars group has an auto email video there. So you can check that out and have a look at all the syntaxing all the way through the fields. So mail subject. Well, mail subject can be, this is today's sales report. This is automated report monthly sales, something along those lines. Especially having something something unique and easily identifiable in the subject line means that you can apply an Outlook rule to route to a particular box, or put it on automatic delete if you're so inclined, but that's entirely up to you. Rather just leave your name off the send. Mail text. Good point that Tammy brought up. What can I use as far as breaking up information? Now, I said that using a comma separates your parameters for this particular plugin. So in the mail text, this would be bad. Hi all, comma, that would be a problem. And you actually see that when I hit enter, the add-ins actually change that to a full colon. So it's removed the comma for me. So semicolons and commas are an issue inside of these fields because commas are used to break up the variables for these parameters. Okay. Now, we could do something like hi all hyphen dash, here is the monthly sales report, etc. So you're effectively building an email at this point. But an important question here, would you like to attach the Excel file? That might seem redundant. Of course I want to attach the file. However, not all reports are created equal. Some of them get very large, 5 meg, 10 meg in size, etc. If you need to send a 10 meg file to a bunch of people in the organization, it may have an impact on their mailbox limit. So we'll actually give you the option to say no, and then there will be a particular feature that I'll talk about, saving to an output location, where I can say in my email, hi everybody, the report's been run and has been saved to that particular location. Are there any other special characters that cause problems, for example, quotation marks or apostrophes? No. Quotation marks, apostrophes, no particular problems as far as syntaxing here. The only ones, comma and semicolon, because of the way they impact, but otherwise would be no particular issues. So I can say not to attach the workbook, If I do attach the workbook, I need to give the entire workbook a name. So it would be monthly-sales.xlsx or something similar. Extra files to attach. So if there is a file saved, maybe somebody wants their reports, instead of sending them out as Excel files, they want them saved as PDF documents. Okay. You can't do that as an automated process here, but what you can do is record that process as a macro. So I could have multiple reports run, saved as PDF files because the macros will do that for me, and then here I can send out another report that attaches PDFs from previously saved macros. The final option is force the report to abort on failure. What this means is if an add-in is unable to work, you actually get a pop-up message that tells you, having problems with this particular add-in, it's not running. Would you like to kill the entire report? Don't. Especially if you're going to be saving it to a folder location. Just because the mail server's down doesn't mean it should delay the saving of this particular file to a server. So you can, if you wish, say, if the mail doesn't go, then just kill the entire report and it won't run. But there are ways around this. I'm of a preference of saving it to the server, and I'll show you that in just a few moments' time. Saving to the server, and then sending an email letting everybody know it's there in the usual location. Go check, or you're going to get fired. That sort of thing. Well, not nearly as dramatic, but that's entirely up to you. So I'm going to say, do not force the report to abort on failure, and I'm going to click OK. So now I will draw your attention to the syntax of this plugin. Okay, your screens are updating now. You'll see in my run add-ins area, I now have a whole stack of green text. Everything in the brackets are all of the options as far as my parameters are concerned. So there's my mail.smtp.com, comma, Cheryl@alchemex.com, colon, Gary@alchemex.com, comma. Now it moves on to the from address, etc. When you start playing with plugins and get used to them, the syntax will become very familiar to the point that you'll be able to copy some of these add-ins, paste them, and simply alter the values in the parameters without actually having to go through the process of adding another add-in. Okay. I will kill this one because I don't necessarily want to bombard Cheryl and Gary with reports during the course of my presentation, but I'm going to leave it there for now because I want to show you what happens if you select to run a new add-in. The next add-in I'm going to talk about is saving this as a HTML file. Very good for dashboard reports, things that are very graphical, things that reorganize the information. A dashboard report is a very good option here, where you can publish just the overall sheet as a HTML file, flat HTML file. So if you try to publish a pivot table as a HTML, you'll get just a flat sheet of information. You won't be able to drill down or do anything like that. Okay. But if you already have an add-in in this report, it will then say, well, you can specify a new add-in, or would you like to go and alter the parameters of that previous add-in? Oh, and people are having a go at my accent. Childish. Sorry, from Australia. H. We can get through one more class. We can, honestly. And I'll try and H. All right, so I can specify a new add-in. Oh, well, see, now, thank you. Now, see, Mark, I've got other people coming to my defense. That's great. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Right, specify a new add-in. Let's talk about saving as HTML file. So, from my select add-in library, Alchemex add-in 1. Then, and yes, I will point out the error here. Halfway down, there is intranet, internet, integration. There is a superfluous G there in the integration word. Intranet, internet, integration module. And don't ask when it's going to be fixed. I don't think it's high on the priority. I think we want to get you your reports out first. Again, just like with the auto email, there's only one function here in this particular library, and that is to publish sheet. This one's really not difficult because you only have two options. What sheet would you like to publish, and where would you like it to be published to? So where is the HTML file going to be saved? Now, when you do that, and I say fully qualified file path here, so c:\/work/sales.html. That's what I'm talking about as far as a fully qualified file path. What sheet? Well, maybe you've created a number of sheets with different charts, etc. You can have this add-in run multiple times. You can only determine one sheet at a time. So here I'm going to say sheet 1, tab. Where am I going to save it? I'm going to save it to my work folder, because everybody's got a work folder. Sales.html. But there's nothing stopping you running this add-in again. And that's why I say, when you get familiar with, especially with this plugin, you'll just be able to copy that line of code in the add-ins box, paste it. Actually, I'll do that. Let me click on OK. And so now in my add-ins box, I'm going to highlight exactly what's happened as far as the second add-in is concerned. Remember, we were talking about what characters you can't use as far as parameters are concerned. The semicolon is one of them. The reason you can't use semicolon is semicolon determines where one add-in stops and the next one begins. So you'll see at the end of my publish sheet add-in, there is no semicolon. If there was, it would expect something else and would actually bomb. It would come up with, I'm having an error trying to run these. Do you wish to abort the report? But you'll see the plugin for publish sheet, sheet 1, comma, then my full file pathing. Okay, I've just received a message from one person saying lost audio, screen seems to be frozen, but they just went offline, so everybody else seems to be okay. Can I just get everybody to just send me through a hey or something if you can still, yep, good stuff. Cool, thank you. Oh, and now the screen just gets flooded with everybody. Great, thanks. Thank you very much. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I've highlighted that and I've included the semicolon. Now I'm going to copy. So copy, and then I can paste it at the end. So this is effectively going to run twice. But let me highlight that second one that I've just pasted. What I'm going to do now, I can just change the sheet name in here. I don't have to go and edit the process. So everybody should be okay with that one. Okay, so I'm going to just tell sheet 2 to be the sheet to publish. So again, when you start making your fantastic sales reporting pack that you're going to sell to hundreds of clients and make thousands, you can publish each of these sheets as their own web page. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to kill my email plugin. Okay. And I'm just, you can, yeah, like it, I've just deleted it there. I've just highlighted, deleted the lines, so you can make adjustments inside of the add-ins window. That's not a problem. So both of these sheets are going to run. Okay. Now, I run my sales report. Let's just make sure that I actually have a folder called work, because that would be very embarrassing. Yep, got a folder called work. Let your screens update. You'll see that it's empty, so it's the best that I can do of saying nothing up my sleeve. Work folder on the C drive. Going to run the report. So the report will run and come out as an Excel file. So I'm guessing, because there wasn't a template for this particular report, I'm going to get a raw data dump in HTML format, and I'm going to get the parameter sheet as a HTML sheet as well. Now, I'm going to need to make one other adjustment there to the file name, because at the moment I've got both of them saving to sales.html. So let's call that parameters. All right. Okay, so just a quick edit inside of the add-ins field, and I'm good to go. So now, let me run the report. Not too worried about screen updates right now, because you can check the video, and besides, this bit's boring anyway. So I'm going to run this report. Whatever data comes out, I'm more interested in shifting back to the work folder and see what happens. Now, a good point. When you review that video, the output window that comes up in the top right-hand corner, when you review the video, I want you to check that out and see the lines that actually roll up. You'll see the running the add-in actually work. The reason I draw your attention to this is if you decide to start using these add-ins, and I encourage you that you do, some of them, particularly the next one I'm going to talk about, which is the auto-extending of a formula, if they are slow or they're slowing down the performance of the report, looking at the output window and seeing which add-in is currently running will give you an idea of which one's causing the problem. So there's my raw data, quite ugly. Let's go to my work folder. Your screens will update now. You'll see that I've got parameters.html and sales.html. Any of your customers that might be using SharePoint or even an intranet, if the company has an intranet, take advantage of it and put down folder locations in the HTML structure where you can save reports to those particular folders. So instead of actually telling people to go and run their own report and have a look at it, you can actually run reports that automate the publishing of these HTML files. Let's have a look at this sales. It's going to be ugly, but we can do it. Let me see it inside of Internet Explorer. There we go. It's very ugly indeed. I'm waiting for Internet Explorer to finish generating that. There we go. But that's just an example. You could do this on a dashboard report yourself. And you're then publishing something that's going to show you profit and loss, top 5 expenses, top 5 customers, bottom 5 categories, etc., as a very nice, presentable web page. I'm going to digress from the add-ins here because scheduling is a good segue at this point. I will come back and talk about the last add-in, which is the Extend Excel Formulas. But what I want to talk about now is that idea of an automated reporting process where people go to a particular web page and they look at the HTML generation of the report. Important things to note. Don't go changing the save name, because remember, when you're hyperlinking to a file, you're hyperlinking to a specific file name. If you start messing around in your add-ins, changing the name of the file as it's saved, all of your hyperlinks in your intranet site or in SharePoint will now just have problems. Okay, so you don't need to worry about saving of names, changing those. We'll talk about that a little bit later when it comes to saving it as a file rather than a HTML page. But what if people say that I want to see that HTML file update 5 times a day? Well, you could just get somebody to run the report 5 times a day, but we're trying to move away from doing too many manual processes. So let's schedule a report. You can schedule any report. You right-click on the report itself, and all the way down the bottom, very helpful, generate scheduler command. Scheduler. I'm not really going to be picky about that one. Generate scheduler command. Now, when I click this, the line of code that comes up on the screen, you don't need to decipher. You don't need to understand everything that's happening here. The task scheduler program will. You can actually you've got an idea there in the very first line. Program files, Sage, Peachtree, PBI core. So that's the program it wants to run. RU55. Have a look in the background, the very first field in the properties window. Report ID 51. Sorry, it was 51, not 55. Okay. So this is the command to tell this particular report to run with the following pieces of information. If you have a plugin, an add-in, telling a sheet to go and make an HTML file over there, that's part of the report. If you're telling the report to auto-email, that's part of the report. If you schedule the report to run, everything stacks. All of the features that you've asked the report to do get done automatically. So I can take this. Now, the very first lines here, the scheduling command line for the report has been copied to your clipboard. So I can open up Notepad, Control-V, paste. I can go in to Task Scheduler, and it says, what program do you want to run? Control-V, paste. You don't need to worry about copying all of that down. We do it for you. We copy it to your clipboard just to prove I am not lying. There's Notepad there. Control-V. pasted. One thing about scheduling of reports when it comes to reports that require a parameter value. Remember the difference between a filter and a parameter. The values that you put down for a filter stay. You do not get to change them. Therefore, if I schedule this report and it has filters, they'll carry on happily. However, a parameter requires user intervention. So, Les, how do we get around that? Glad you asked. Let's do a schedule for a report that has date information. Let me see. Parameters, dashboard sales. There we go. Okay. So my dashboard sales report has a parameter which requires input. If I generate the scheduler command at this point, so I right-click on my report and I generate scheduler command, it will not automatically ask me, or it will not automatically give me the code, because remember, parameters, they require that value. So let me generate scheduler command, and now the report's actually asking for dashboard sales. What date do I want it to give? Now, I've given it 1st of January 2011, but what if I need my report to be dynamic, always starting from the first day of the month? Okay. That gets to be a problem, because if I click OK here now, my code, and you'll actually see it in the second line that's generated, that this report has been told run from the 1st of January 2011. That's what my task scheduler will execute each and every time. I don't want that. I need that January 2011 date to always change. Well, here's what we can do. It's copied to my clipboard. So, Notepad, paste. And I'm going to leave that there for a second. Okay, so I'm leaving my pasted command here on the screen. Okay. What can I do now to have that value change automatically? Well, system variables. System variables you can access by right-clicking on Home and selecting Show System Variables. Show System Variables are lines of code that PBI will recognize and automatically insert a date. So, if this is going too fast, please review the video as many times as you like. I've right-clicked on Home, and I go to Show System Variables. When your screens update, you'll see that I've got a column called Name, and there's a number of words there that start with at and end with the at symbol, like at date at. At date at, if that value is given to Peachtree Business Intelligence, then it will automatically insert today's date. At year at will automatically insert the year. At month name at will be April. What this means is you can set those values up as filter values, so they'll constantly update, but because they're filters, you never need to touch them. Same concept applies here. In my notepad, I've got 1st of January hard-coded. I don't want it. I want it to run from the start of my current month. So you'll see line 7 there. Let me highlight it there. At month start at. If PBI gets given that command, it will go, what's my current month? April? Great, 1st of. And that will happen automatically. So if you want your reports to have a scheduled dynamic date, you can come in, paste this into Notepad, and alter your dates accordingly. At month start at. Task Scheduler doesn't care about that. Task Scheduler could not give two hoots about at month start at. Really couldn't. The entire thing, Task Scheduler just says, have I got an entire thing? Cool, go do it. So it passes that entire line of code to PBI. PBI knows what to do with that date, and it inserts it dynamically each and every time. So if you want a report to run for the current month, greater than or equal to at month start at, less than or equal to at month end at. So your monthly dates will always be dynamic. You've got it set. So again, this will be passed back to PBI. You don't have to worry about then manually making these dates always change to update. So those are the tips I'm going to give you as far as scheduling is concerned. Now, the documents have been put together. A lot of work's gone into them to show you how to set up a task in Windows XP and how to set up a task in Windows Scheduler for Vista or for 7. So whichever version your customers use, you go there. And this is something that you'd probably want to do depending on how comfortable you are with that customer's tech skills. You know what, come give them the report, set up the task. There you go. For companies that have IT departments, get the server guy, get the guys at the server, the net admins, get them to set this schedule up. So then they don't really have to worry about that process. So scheduling reports. Again, I talked about publishing, auto-publishing reports as HTML files. By scheduling this to happen every 2 hours, people only ever need to go to that folder repository every 2 hours and update their link. Because the report has been scheduled to run, it'll publish that particular sheet. It's got updated information. You've now got a dynamic reporting repository. Feel free to use that in your marketing and charge an extra $1,500 for it. Well, that's entirely up to you. I'm not going to advise you on your pricing structures. But that's how you start doing automated reporting distribution, especially on a regular basis. When you do your commissions reports, com reports, your sales reps are always hitting you for the last couple of days of the month. They're always hitting you last couple of days of the month. Brad's just sent through that he's lost audio. Anybody else lost? Stupid question. People who can still hear me, please say yes. Okay, there we go. Got everybody else. Seems it's only you. Yeah, I don't know how many times I do that in a webinar. Please tell me if you can't hear me. That's great. When it comes to your end of month, get the sales commissions report to be scheduled every couple of hours and automatically email to people. So that means the sales guys don't have to keep badgering people. Please run the reports and check what my com is now. Please do it again. Okay. So you can start taking this burden off people and make it a cleaner process. Okay, I'm going to talk about customer details. Let's see what columns, actually, my demo, what columns have we got here? I'm going to do one report on the fly. Standard report, sales info. What I'm going to do is just use the standard sales analysis container. I'm not worried about screen updates right now. I want to take customer name, there we go. And I want to take the total sale amount. That's all I'm after. So there's my sales info. I'm going to run this out. There may be times where you need to add in your own columns of data. And when you start moving into report writing, that's going to happen a lot, where you start adding in your own columns, especially when you're doing dashboards or you're doing union reports, where you're VLOOKUPing. That's really annoying. I'm getting a lot of zeros, so let me just apply a filter to that, where total sales amount is greater than 0. Now, you will get to the point of adding in your own additional columns where you're reorganizing, manipulating data. Maybe you use the text function on the date to get out the month, to get out the day name, all those sorts of things. Your problem is going to be when you create and link your template back. The reason being, you run this report, it's got 1,000 lines. Great. Here, this particular report has 502 lines. I can now add in a column at C. Okay, don't worry about column A or B. You leave that alone because that's where raw data is going to go. But for column C, I want to add in my own stuff. So what I want to do is take that total sales amount and add tax. So it's an inclusive price. How do I do that? Well, I believe sales tax And the US is what, 14%, 15%? I'm going to run with 14. Equals that times 1.14. So I'll let your screens update now. All I'm doing is doing a 14% increase on that sales amount. My problem comes in here. I autofill that formula down. This is now my adjustment on this sheet. Anything outside of that raw data, I've got to take care of. So if I autofill that down, I now have that formula going down 502 rows. I create and link the template, great. Next time I run the report and there's 1,000 rows, my inclusive price stops at 502. I've told it what to do. I've made this customization. We can't anticipate everything that you want to do. We can try, but we can't automatically say, yes, take this down, because maybe you don't want that. So what we give you is an add-in that will let you do that process for you. Okay. So let me show you what we can do. I've deleted all of the extra formulas. I've just left that first one in cell C2. Okay. And you can do this for column D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, all the way through, especially when you start dealing with some of the financial packs and there are 60-odd columns, you're going to have a problem because you're going to be all the way at the end. So we'll show how we can get to that as far as figuring out what number column we're up to is concerned. But the point is that you can add as many extra formulas here as you like. I move back to my report. Not worried about screen updates because you can check the video. But what I have selected is General Excel Extensions, okay, which is the first of the modules. And the very first one is Extend Formula to Used Rows. As I said, in those documents, which a lot of work went into them, and I've got to thank the people who did that, they give you an explanation of each of these. But these are the ones you're going to be using mostly, these three. So Extend Formula to Used Rows. Let me click OK and run through the options quickly. Okay? And the reason I say quickly is because there's still plenty for me to show you. This add-in is going to take certain formulas and run them down as far as your data lands on the sheet. What destination sheet do I want this to run on? I want this to run on my first sheet. Now, sheet 1, okay, sorry, that's the name of the sheet, sheet 1, the column to begin at, and I've got to give it the number. So it was in column C, so that's the third column. Okay. If you're worried about the column number, like we were talking about 60 columns, 70 columns, and you don't know what column CD actually equals, here's a quick, cheat way to do it. In Excel, you can do this one of two ways. If you know the R1C1 formula option, you can do that, and it changes all the ABCs to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s, and that tells you what particular column you're in. For those people who don't, here's a very cheap way. Insert and autofill filling series. So just insert a column, type in 1, autofill it across, then just remember to delete that row once you've got your numbers. I'm dealing with C, that's not overly complicated. I know that's 3, but for larger sheets, that's an easy way for you to do it. So delete that. So the column I need to begin at is 3. The next option, the first row to begin copying to, well, my heading is in the first row. The formula I want to copy is in the second row, so I need it to start going to row 3. The Excel range to copy, I want cell C2. If I had other formulas in D, E, F, G, H, I could do normal notation. I'm having a shocker. C2 colon L2. I can do that. So when you start looking at trying to combine information, like bring through your sales, bring through your stock levels on another sheet, VLOOKUP the stock level information back to your main sheet against each of the stock items, and then pivot table it. So you can actually have stock on hand amounts sitting alongside your sales amounts. So you can do stock on hand sales trend analysis. Once you know exactly what the trend is over the last 6 months, you can say, oh, well, I've got 17 left on hand. I need to go buy. because my total sale amount over those 6 months has been 140, averaging over 20 a month. Well, around about 70. I need more stock. So you can do extra notation to bring in other formulas. And this is probably the thing that confuses most people at the start. The column used to define the used row range. What that means is, what column do I need to look at to know when to stop? Pick a field that's always going to have a value in it. Sales rep is not always going to have a value. There might be an invoice where there's no sales rep on it. It will be a blank field. So if you told it to look at the sales rep column, it would run down to the first blank and then stop. So you always pick something like date. You always pick something like customer name, but that's not always a guarantee in Peachtree either. So pick something that you know will always have information in it. My customer's name's in column 1, so I'm telling mine to look at column 1. The last question you really need to fill out, and you should always put no here. Do you wish to replace that formula with values? It's the equivalent of paste special values over the top of a formula. Don't do it for 2 reasons. 1, it's going to slow your report down, especially when you're dealing with 10,000 rows and you might have your own 5 or 6 extra columns coming in. It's going to slow the report down. 2, people are going to assume that's a number that's come from the system, unless they can select the cell and they can see, oh, that's been worked out. I can see it. It's math. Show you're working. Okay. So leave that as no, because there are 2 benefits. That is all you need. Ignore the rest. If it's just a basic number in, extra formulas, run them down, that will work for me. I click on apply and OK. Now I create and link my template. Have to create and link the template because the template needs to hold these formulas that I've added to my raw data sheet. So you can start taking the information coming through and manipulating it more in Excel right on the data sheet, and then pivot table the whole thing. Let me create and link my report here. So there's my customer name, there's my total sales amount, there's my inclusive price. I'm going to do a straight create and link and then rerun the report. And you'll see it on the video in real time. When I've run the report, you'll actually see it. Yeah, I'll run the report, and you'll be able to see the end result. So I've created and linked, I'm running my report, and you saw previously that I only had that one formula there. And now my sheet updates. Your screens are going to update now. You'll see that that formula will extend all the way down to row 502. And as long as there's data in column 1, the A column, as long as there are names, it will keep extending down. Very, very useful. Not only on your raw data, but think about calculations that you might want to do down the side of a pivot table. In the video demonstration that's available on the Peachtree community website, which shows you how to take our sales report and make it a commissions report, you might say, well, he's just auto-filled the formulas, create and link template, and it's done. What happens if more data comes into the pivot table and it goes further down? What I just showed you here is the answer to that. It doesn't have to be raw data. You can set up formulas and have them auto-extend on any sheet in any position. You just need to know, what row do I want it to start copying to, what formulas do I want, and where are they located. So you can actually have something sitting alongside a pivot table, and as that pivot table builds, you've got your own custom formulas, maybe even VLOOKUPs, that reference information from the pivot table to another sheet, bringing it back in. Those are the 3 add-ins. Now we're going to talk about some of the more useful options as far as the advanced properties are concerned. Okay, and we're looking at about 10 minutes left, so I do apologize if this is a little quicker, but I'm available to answer questions about these. That's not a problem. Plus, also, there is an explanation of each of these options in the PDF documents that you're receiving. Well, with the exception of Mark, he hasn't got them yet, but I'll fix that. Having a look at my options here. The very first tick box is parameters on second sheet. Second one is report locked. Now you see that our standard reports are locked. You can't change them. If you lock a report, you'll get the same thing. I lock my report and I click on apply. It then asks me for a password. I'm going with the ultra-secure 12345. Spaceballs fans might find that number familiar. Confirming the password, 12345. When your screens update, you'll actually see that I don't have access to any of the properties of the report. I can run it. If there are parameters, they'll pop up, but everything else is locked. So if there are companies out there that are really worried about people changing things as far as the reports, Steve, thank you very much. Steve got the joke. Thank you. So this sales information report, if somebody's worried about having things alter, you can lock the report down and have that as a management set password. So managers can come in and can change it, but that's it. So I'm going to unlock. So yes, I can run the report. If you've set down auto email, if you've set down publish sheet, you've set down all of those other functions, they will still happen. It just means that locking the report, people don't get to change any of that stuff. Unlock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now it's live. With the whole Enron, Arthur Andersen thing, security as far as computing was concerned, as far as reporting was concerned, really got put under the microscope. People were wondering, how can we protect reports? PDFing was an immediate option. People saying, I'll run this report, and that's great because generally I can't alter a PDF document. Okay. Now, this is where Excel's protection comes in. Excel used to get a bad rap because the password for an Excel workbook used to be stored outside of the Excel file itself. If you knew where to go, you could actually go in, look at the password, change the password, delete the password, and then access the workbook. Now, security is very, very tight as far as protecting the output book. So I've moved from report locked down a couple. Actually, let me talk about hide the source data in the report. Automatically format the first sheet, auto fit on the columns, italics for the headings, and a border. That's it. Hide the source data in the report. Source data lives on the first sheet and any other sheets in the case of union reports. Sheet 2 is not raw data, it's simply parameters. If you put a tick in hide the source data, all of that ugly raw data dump gets hidden away. The sheets are hidden at the end of the report being run. So if you go into the template and take a look and see the sheets there, then you put a tick on, those sheets will be hidden at the completion of the report, leaving people to just stare in wonder at your amazing dashboards and your amazing pivot tables. That's what we want. Protect the output book. This is now an all or nothing proposition. When I say all or nothing, it locks everything. The only two things you can do are select lock cells and select unlock cells. By default, that's it. So if you have pivot tables, you've got a problem, because this locking procedure will lock everything down. If I put a tick in against protect the output book and apply, when your screen updates, you'll now see that there's an extra box there. Output book protection password, randomly generated if blank. So if people are really worried, they can put that tick on, and when this report runs out, nobody's getting it because it's a random string combination. It's not a random word like cat, fridge, dog, pig, tree, whatever. It's random string of right square bracket, underscore, ampersand, capital A, underscore, 2, %, tilde. And that's going to change every single time the report runs. So the resultant Excel file will be locked down. Nobody can unlock it. You could try. Best of luck. It's going to take you a while. And by that time, it'll be at least 30 days with any standard password cracker. At least 30 days, especially with special characters. By that time, the report's now useless. You're on to the next month. That can lock the Excel file. You can then lock the report as well. So if the report has its own password lock, and then the Excel file has its own password lock, you're looking at multiple levels of data security. Of course, you can put your own password in. It's entirely up to you. So the accountant can change the Excel file, relock it, but then nobody else has the option to. Okay. Retain all run instances and keep original instance orders. Don't do that. It just saves a copy of the report every time it's run. Speed issues, performance issues, don't bother with it. Run macros on completion. Those people who know about macros and want to write them and add them in, make them part of the template. So when you're doing your create and link, you're either going XLT or, well, XLT is by default for 2003, or XLTM for 2007-2010, because that's a macro-enabled workbook. All you need to do, type in the name of the macro. Now, people have said, can you do multiple macros? Absolutely. With that colon separator, absolutely. But my question would be, if you've got multiple macros, why don't you just call them as subroutines in the one macro? Meh. Save them as one macro, and you type the name of the macro as it is in the template. When the report runs, the macro will then kick in. Okay. Couple of my favorites now. We already talked about the fact that you can save it to a folder location. Well, here's an example. Generate output file. When this report has run, please save it to the following location. Okay. Again, this could be a very large file. I need to save it to a specific location. I schedule my report to run. When the report runs, that file saves to that folder location. We're all good. Send out an email not attaching the workbook, just telling them, hey, everybody, sales info report is in the work folder. Go check it out. Or get your pay docked, either one. So when this report runs, it will save to this location. Let me do that quickly, and I'll show you that work folder. And again, guys, all of these things stack, guys. Non-gender specific people in a group. All of these things stack. So I can have reports locked, automatically emailing with protection on the workbook, automatically scheduled. These things all stack as part of that scheduled run process. So there's my report. Great. Close it off. Close off all of the other ones. I don't need to see everything. Great. Now if I have a look at my work folder, when your screens update, you'll see I've got sales.xlsx. Unlike the HTML option, it's not always good to have this file automatically overwritten, and it will. I schedule this to run at 9 a.m. every day. It will overwrite the previous one because you don't want a report that was supposed to be scheduled at 6 a.m. die because you didn't click yes to the answer to answer the question, the report already exists. Would you like to overwrite it? We don't want that in a scheduled process. We need the report to run. So we automatically overwrite the reports. Well, how do I dynamically save? What if I want to create a record of all of the reports? So glad you asked. I showed you in the report scheduler process how to add a dynamic date. The same process applies here. In my generate output file, C:\work\sales space @date@. What does @date@ give you? @date@ gives you today's date. Today's date.xlsx. Excel doesn't care what @date@ means, but PBI does. So now when this report runs, it will save to that work folder as sales 20th of April 2011. Schedule that to run each and every day, and now you've got a dynamic folder repository keeping track of every day's report. You can also extend that with a folder like April, May, June, July, August, September, etc., and simply in the file path, C:\work @month_name @sales @date@.xlsx. You need to make sure the folders are set up. It won't do that automatically in the saving process. But that will give you an automated report storage system. which you can run for your sales, you can run for your financials. Now you can schedule it. The only issue will be if you schedule it twice in a day and you want to maintain separate instances, then you're going to have a problem because the value will be exactly the same the second time you run. All right. Now, you've scheduled all these reports to run. You've scheduled them all to go to particular people or to save to particular folder locations. Right underneath Generate Output File, close book on completion. There's no reason for you to be looking at 6 workbooks when you come into your desk. Why would you want to? So when the report runs, it's being saved, it's being sent to these people. I don't want to look at it anymore. You put a tick in there, and it will automatically close down the workbook once it's been run. Now, the last one that I'm going to show you, well, I'll show you 2. Report hidden. Very simple. I think we talked about that as far as union reports were concerned, that you can make a report hidden. Very good process to do if it is part of a union report. You don't want people to run the sub-reports by themselves because maybe they don't mean anything in isolation. So you would hide the report. Doesn't mean the report's gone, just means you're not seeing it. But you can still call it, you can still schedule it. So that might be a good option for reports that are being set up, a sales report for every sales rep. You create a sales rep with a filter to that name, copy it. Now to a new name, copy it to a new name. Schedule those reports and then hide them so people don't have to run that. They can simply run the main sales report that just has a parameter which lets them pick the sales rep they want. But for me right now, make available in menus. Make available in menus. What I'm going to do is swing to Peachtree and show you from the Reports and Forms menu. Don't go all the way down to Business Intelligence Setup. Halfway down, just above Crystal Reports, you'll see Business Intelligence. When I select that, it brings up my Select Report window showing me all of the folders and the reports inside them. So all I need to do when I create a report is tick certain reports to now be available. Even in my training reports folder, you saw that I had a fair few reports there, but I've only put a tick in make available in menu for a couple of them, particularly the ones that I've copied previously. They've had that setting when I copy it. There we go. Now, please be advised, access to the reports. We already talked about security and module security. Module security is tied into these folders. If you're going to make a financial report, put it in the financials folder. Because if you put it in another folder, people might be able to run it who shouldn't have access to that information. Peachtree security is tied to the folder structure inside of PBI. So you can actually have it set up that people never even need to look at the Report Manager module. You've created the reports, you've imported them, you've set everything up, you've set a schedule up, and if they want to run it in their own time, you've put a tick in that, make available in menu, they can launch it from here, and they wouldn't even know the difference. Those are the highlights as far as the advanced reporting options are concerned, but as I said, they've all been clarified in the PDF documents that you have received, well, with one exception. So guys, yeah, you know what I'm going to say. Guys, thank you very much for attending the last few weeks. I apologize that I didn't get to see you last week, but I was out of town doing training. Again, yeah, thank you. I hope you found this interesting. The videos are all there for you. Please download them. I'll be taking them down shortly, as in inside of the next couple of weeks, because we'll be doing this for another group of people. So, yes, today's video, I will be putting it up inside of the next 24 hours, and you'll be able to download that. But please keep them for yourself. Free sent through. Does the menu know who the user is and allow only their reports to be accessed? Well, that's what you set up in the report security free. Okay. And yes, Cheryl, I'm about to get to that. I have a slide for that. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. Peachtree Business Intelligence Group. That's the group. If you need access to it and you still don't have access to it, Ruth at alchemex.com. That's the person you need to contact, but nobody's been complaining recently, so I think you've all got access to that. I will be putting the video up, as I said, inside of the next 24 hours. One last thing before you all go. I mentioned that there are a couple of reports. The dashboard report that I've demonstrated to you previously may not be in your versions right now, but it should be there at release time, or it will be given to you in the release window. There is also another financial report, which is a very, very powerful report, and it's called the Reports Designer. It takes your financial reporting to a whole new level because it allows you to use a drag and drop interface like a pivot table to customize your financial layouts. We want you guys to have a look at that so you know what's going on before it gets to the customers, and you get blindsided and then you get made to look like a dill. So what we're doing to not make you look like a dill, this is what we're doing. Date, 28th of April at 10 a.m. If you can't make it, that's okay. We'll be recording it and we'll send the link to you as well. There are plenty of videos of this particular report available on our website. So you might even go, what does a dill look like? Oh, that's right, dill, you guys kind of think like dill pickles. A dill in Australian slang is to be made to look like an idiot. Sorry, I didn't mean it to be that harsh, but that's what a dill looks like. Yeah, this particular session, we will record it and we will make it available for you to download and watch, just like we've done everything else. And so you've actually got a couple of weeks before the report is released out to the broader community, so you can get your head around it and know exactly how to use it. So when you get that question from a customer, you can actually look like a star and not a dill idiot / dolt. So we're going to be sending you out a link very shortly, probably inside of the next 24 hours, to register for that session. But as I said, if you're not able to make it, let us know and we'll make sure you get a link to the video. That's it. I almost have a tear come to my eye. If I wasn't so heartless, that might actually happen. Thank you again. I really do appreciate that you guys attended. Makes my job a lot easier. Yeah, thank you very much for giving me a lot of fun with your comments. I really do appreciate it. Question's been asked, will I be at Summit? Sadly, yes. Well, sadly, I guess sadly for the bars, because I tend to close them. Yes, I will be there. Oh, and no, I'm not very heartless, Mitchell. It's just joking. I look like a rhino, but I'm a marshmallow inside. Yes, I will be at Summit. I'm going to be running a number of sessions at Summit. Peachtree, yes, for some. I will be running Excel sessions, which show you how to take the really cool stuff in Excel to make really, really nice dashboards. But I'm being pulled a couple of different ways for ACPAC, for Maz, for Peachtree to do a lot of different training. So I haven't got my schedule settled down, but we will have a booth. You're free to come around and talk to me, and we can share a bevy or two. John sent through, what about certification? You'll be getting notifications soon, John. I believe it will be coming up with you on your Sage dealer profile. Carla, you'll be able to correct me on that one. We'll be giving you a link once the exams are ratified and set up and ready to go. You'll be able to do it online. We'll give you details about that as soon as they're made available. And I believe you get one free sit. Yep, Carla's just sent through. It will include, we'll be including the information on that 28th of April course. So it looks like your exam's not going to be till May. Okay, so you do have time to study. Study hard. Make me proud. Yeah, we'll give you certification information. Oh, sorry, Jennifer. Yeah, certification. We will be giving you certification information at the end of the 28th, that session that you see on the screen right now. However, we'll make sure that you all get it just in case you don't attend, you can't attend that 28th. But I really would encourage you. 10 a.m. PDT, so it's not, so it's a little bit earlier. You guys should be okay for that, I think, though. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Everything else would just be hot air from my side. Thank you very much again, everybody. Really do appreciate it. And yeah, look forward to seeing you. It'll probably be me doing that presentation as well. So you haven't got rid of me yet. Ha, 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 maniacal laugh. Thanks very much, guys. Please enjoy the rest of your day.